President Bongbong Marcos has flagged about 6,000 flood control projects worth 350 billion pesos lacking clear structure. And the audit has just begun. The chief executive made a comprehensive presentation. He released a list of 15 contractors handling most of these projects who received nearly 100 billion pesos of the government's over 545 billion peso infrastructure fund. That's 20% or 1 in 5 state-funded initiatives cornered by the same firms from July 2022 to May 2025. 5 of these companies supposedly had projects in almost all regions nationwide. These are Legacy Construction Corporation, Alpha and Omega, St. Timothy, EGB Construction, and Road Edge Trading.
I don't know about you, but that is a very big number. That is an enormous number. Imposible yan. It is impossible for one barangay, even if they are the next barangay, to have the exact same project to the exact same amount with the exact same contractor.
Marcos also noted that projects worth over 350 billion pesos did not even specify what kind of repairs, rehabilitation, and other work were done. But Marcos stopped short of naming personalities who may be involved in these companies or projects.
They are not assessments. We are not accusing anyone of anything yet. However, it gives us an idea of how this has been conducted.
With this, Marcos launched a website that allows citizens to track and report questionable flood control projects.
We have to clean our ranks. This is it might be a little painful. Ang lalapitan na ngayon ninyo ako mismo dahil akong titingin dito araw-araw sa website natin at babasahin ko.
For his part, Senator Joel Villanueva has a message to those linking him to allegedly anomalous flood control projects. Villanueva's bailiwick of Bulacan emerged as the province with the most flood control projects in Marcos's list, followed by Cebu, Isabela, Pangasinan, and Pampanga. Villanueva likewise denied that senators are involved in these contracts.
Hindi ko naman kailangan ang apology. 3 taon ko na po ito binibring up, if you would recall, in the hearing of Senator Bong Revilla 2023, 2024, at hanggang ngayon po binibring up natin. Tapos nababaligtad pa po tayo na ito daw ay napunta sa Bulacan, at pag napunta na sa Bulacan, may kalokohan na, at pag may kalokohan na, si Joel Villanueva. I can only speak for this house, not the other house, and as far as I'm concerned, as the majority leader of the Senate, I don't see any senators involved in any of these 15 construction firms.
Meantime, Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto called out Sara Diskaya, his political rival in the 2025 midterms. That's for the inclusion of her family's companies in the president's list. The companies named were Alpha and Omega General Contractor and Development Corporation and St. Timothy Construction Corporation. Soto accused these firms of involvement in what he called the 6 stages of corruption in flood control projects. The stages include sketchy bidding, substandard work, hidden fees, tax evasion, and using stolen funds to gain political influence.
A House Tri-Committee is set to investigate the alleged anomalies in flood control projects nationwide. Leading the probe are the Public Accounts, Public Works, and Good Government Committees. We have the chairman of the Public Accounts panel with us. Good evening and welcome back to The Big Story, Congressman Terry Ridon.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
First of all, Congressman, let's have your reaction to what the President unveiled today.
Well, of course, we welcome the intervention made by the President. The website is a step towards transparency and accountability, particularly because he made the list public, and the public can actually make a report on whichever observations they may have on the flood control projects around the country today. Although we would like to make some suggestions relating to the website, particularly it would have been better if there were pictures and geotagging options in the website so that the public can actually see for certain whether or not the projects that they're looking at in their localities are actually the projects that are listed in the website.
Well, that's a good suggestion. Napaabot nyo na ba po sa Malacanang?
Well, we will be having a follow-up briefing on Wednesday, so I think that would be the time that we would formally convey this particular initiative to the Palace and, of course, to the Public Works Department.
Mm-hmm. We do understand that it's the DepDev, which was, of course, the old NEDA, that will undertake the audit of these flood control projects. Are you, because there have been some calls as well for the DPWH secretary to take a leave while this investigation is ongoing?
Yes, that's correct. I think it is the president that has made this decision to make sure that it is not the DPWH that will conduct its own internal audit, which is why he has deployed the DepDev to do the executive department audit relating to flood control. So we are hopeful that they will be able to look at the particular details, again, on what the president has stated on whether these are actually completed projects, incomplete projects, delayed projects, substandard projects, or at worst, ghost projects.
Mm-hmm. We understand you had a briefing with the DPWH and other stakeholders not too long ago. Can you tell us what happened in that briefing? And can you disclose the information you received?
Well, the DPWH then had made the commitment that as soon as they had submitted to the president the list of all flood control projects, they will submit the same list to Congress. So as soon as we have the briefing on Wednesday, we would expect the entirety of the list to be submitted formally to Congress as well. And again, we will ask them on Wednesday on whether or not in the list that they had actually compiled and submitted to the president, whether there actually exists substandard, incomplete, delayed, or at worst, ghost projects in the listing that they had made.
Kung Terry, when do you expect to start the first round of hearings? Will this be under the TRICOM? Because you've already thrown the challenge to Baguio City Mayor Magalong and Senator Ping Lacson, who have said meron silang hawak ng mga pangalan, no? But they want the proper forum to be able to disclose these.
Well, that is correct. The TRICOM would be conducting the formal hearings, but the next briefing will be on Wednesday. So I think it's just a matter of time. Maybe in a week or two, we will be able to convene the TRICOM to basically, first of all, to do an exhaustive hearings on what the president had made today, particularly on the contractor list and on the discrepancy between flood control projects, the level of flood control projects, and flood-prone areas.
Yes,
so that would be one. And secondly, particularly relating to the contractor list that he had actually disclosed today as well.
Okay. And how do you plan to investigate the possible involvement of your colleagues in the lower house? Because you know, if you look at the DPWH proposed budget, no, versus lahat ng mga insertions na pumasok doon, I mean, we can't really say, no, squarely put the blame on the DPWH. So have you started thinking along those lines on how you're going to do that?
Well, I think we will take the similar tact as the president. The president today had been very clear that he will be circumspect in actually making accusations, and that is the same conduct of how the Tri-Committee will do it. No? So Mayor Magalong and Senator Lacson had been stating that they have names, no, of supposed legislative contractors that have been undertaking flood control projects. No? So we are waiting for them actually to provide the names. And if the public can actually pinpoint very specific areas like dikes that had been recently completed but had just recently also been destroyed, we'd like to get a report about that as well. Kasi nga, syempre, parang dapat hindi yun nangyayari, no? So that way we would be able to know, for example, which contractor made this particular project, and we can compel them actually to do remediation efforts related to that.